All right, so we're still in chapter 20, and this is our second lecture. I'm in kind of tight quarters here. This is sort of the Tom Waits corner of the conference room. I'll show you why in a minute. And so I got a smaller guitar, because you said more guitar. So we'll start with this, and then we'll talk about losing and abandoning property. This is a song by Tom Waits, and I'll only play the beginning of it. A song called I Don't Want to Grow Up by Tom Waits. It was also covered by the Ramones. So, which takes us to lost and abandoned property. First of all, we're talking about personal property again, like the last lecture talked about. And lost property is something that the owner does not intend to get rid of. But by mistake, by accident, whatever, they don't remember where they put it, they misplaced it, whatever the case may be. That property still belongs to them. And if you find it, while you're entitled to possess it temporarily until the owner comes and claims it, the owner always has the right to take it back after they prove ownership. So lost property doesn't mean much. And there's some things in there about if it's a public place, you have to give it to the public place, etc. Contrast that with abandoned property. Abandoned property is property that the owner doesn't want anymore. They've taken an affirmative step of doing something to dispossess themselves of it. And what we're talking about there essentially is they're getting rid of it. They throw it in the garbage can, they put it in their garbage, whatever. If somebody puts an article into their own garbage can, which is by the side of their house, not out front, they haven't abandoned it yet. But when they take that garbage can out front and put it out by the street, if that's where the garbage collection is, that's an affirmative action of abandonment. That's why on the night before garbage pickup, you'll have people coming by sometimes checking out what people have thrown out. Back in the day, my day, before mine actually, they're called sheeny men. But whatever they are, they're just looking for something of value. And they're entitled to get that stuff because it's been abandoned. It's gone. So it's they're entitled to have it. Okay, it's theirs. They're the owner, whoever first comes upon it. So, with all this in mind, finders, keepers, losers, weepers is really not the law. Because it's only something lost. It's only when it's been abandoned do they have the opportunity now to own it or possess it in some fashion. In line with this, I had personal property, where did it go stuff, is a concept that you've probably never heard of before. It's called escheat. E-S-C-H-E-A-T. And escheat goes way back. Back to England, back centuries ago, when the land was owned by the king. And the king, in order to have loyalty to himself and by those who were inferior to him, would give out things to other people of royalty. The dukes, earls, dukes of Earl, I don't know who these people are. But those folks. And they would have people work the land, and produce, have their animals graze on it, whatever they did. And this generated taxable income or taxes that could be levied. And that was a good thing because the king wanted money coming back from all his land. And if somebody abandoned it, if they didn't bother with it, if it sat there and nobody worked the land for a year or two, it was said to escheat. It would go back to the king from where it came because it wasn't being used properly, i.e. wasn't generating taxes, so it goes back to the king. Well, here in America, we don't have any kings that we know of anyway. But we do have sovereigns, and the sovereign is the state. Whether it's the state of Michigan or the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania or whatever the case may be, that's the sovereign. So when something's been left abandoned, it escheats. And the ownership reverts back to the state, even though the state had nothing to do with it. So, for example, you have a bank account, and you haven't bothered this bank account, and you haven't done anything, and the bank tries to get a hold of you saying, hey, you got a bank account here. After a year or two, that money will escheat to the state of Michigan, and they will hold it until somebody can prove that they are the owners of it. So you can look today, if you want, to go up on the state of Michigan website and look for unclaimed property. And I have a list of people's names there who they think might be the owner. And for all I know, a relative of yours might be in there. It's happened many times before. But that's when this cheat is. It goes back to them. So if somebody was supposed to be paid dividends from stock and we haven't heard from them anymore, that money is cheats. If I'm holding money in my escrow account and the person, nobody comes to claim it or whatever the case, that goes to the state. If the beneficiary can't be found on an insurance policy, the insurance company doesn't get to keep the money. They have to pay it out somehow. The state says, give it to us. And so all those things are cheats, and that's how they work. So that ought to help.